Portland, Oregon, in October 2023, was a city draped in a perpetual veil of mist, where the rain seemed to whisper secrets to the cobblestone streets and ivy-clad homes. Elena Ramirez, a 28-year-old graphic designer with a penchant for sketching cityscapes in her spare time, had moved here from the sun-drenched sprawl of Los Angeles, fleeing the wreckage of a 2-year relationship that had crumbled under the weight of infidelity. The breakup had left her raw, seeking solace in a new beginning. She chose the Hawthorne neighborhood for its eclectic charm. Narrow streets lined with Victorian homes, their porches sagging under the weight of time, and quirky cafes where baristas knew your name by the second visit. Her new apartment on the second floor of a converted 1910 craftsman house was a cozy refuge with creaky oak floors, high ceilings, and bay windows that framed the crimson and gold maples outside. The air carried the scent of fresh paint mingled with the musty undertone of old books, a combination Elena found oddly comforting. She spent her first 2 weeks unpacking boxes, arranging her easel by the window, and mapping out routes to her freelance gigs downtown. The neighborhood felt alive yet secretive, with residents who offered polite nods but kept their stories close. On a drizzly Saturday morning, the rain had softened to a fine mist, and Elena decided to explore. She pulled on a forest green raincoat, tucked her auburn hair under a knit beanie, and grabbed her umbrella, though she preferred to feel the mist on her face. Her goal was a corner bakery known for its lavender lattes, but halfway there, a handwritten sign caught her eye, tacked crookedly to a telephone pole. Estate sale. Antiques, jewelry, oddities. Today only. The arrow pointed left toward a quieter street where the houses leaned closer together, their gardens overgrown with ferns and roses gone wild. Curiosity tugged at her. Elena followed the sign to a modest bungalow, its gray paint peeling like old skin, the front yard dominated by a towering cedar tree dripping with moisture. A middle-aged man sat behind a folding table on the sagging porch, his salt and pepper hair damp from the mist, his flannel shirt worn but clean. The table was cluttered with tarnished silverware, stacks of dog-eared paperbacks, chipped porcelain teacups, and a brass lamp with a frayed cord. Behind him, a cardboard box overflowed with scarves and linens, their colors faded by time. "Morning," he said, his voice rough, like gravel underfoot. His eyes, a piercing gray, held hers for a moment too long. "Everything's from my aunt's estate. She passed last month and I'm clearing out her attic. Take a look." Elena nodded, offering a small smile as she browsed. The items were unremarkable. Postcards with faded ink, a chipped glass ashtray, a set of mismatched spoons. But tucked beneath a pile of moth-eaten scarves, she spotted a small velvet box, its deep burgundy surface scuffed but intact. She opened it to reveal a silver locket, oval-shaped, its surface etched with intricate floral patterns that curled like vines caught in a breeze. Inside, a tiny black and white photo showed a young woman with sharp cheekbones, dark eyes, and a faint, enigmatic smile. The chain was delicate yet sturdy, gleaming faintly under the overcast sky. "How much for this?" Elena asked, holding the locket up. The metal was cool against her fingers, heavier than it looked. The man, his name tag read Marcus, hesitated, his jaw tightening. $20, he said after a pause, his tone clipped, as if he regretted the words as soon as they left his mouth. Elena sensed a flicker of unease in his posture, but she brushed it off as her own overactive imagination, a holdover from too many late-night true crime podcasts. She handed over a crumpled 20 from her wallet, slipped the locket into her coat pocket, and thanked him. As she walked away, she felt his gaze linger, heavy as the mist settling on her shoulders. Back in her apartment, Elena examined the locket under the warm glow of her desk lamp. The floral engravings were meticulous, suggesting craftsmanship from another era. The photo inside was faded, the woman's features softened by time, but her eyes seemed to hold a story. Sorrowful, perhaps, or defiant. Elena tried to place why the face felt familiar, like a half-remembered dream. She decided to wear the locket to her next client meeting, a pitch for a local bookstore's rebranding. The cool metal rested against her collarbone, a quiet companion as she locked the door and headed into the rain-soaked evening. The following week blurred into a rhythm of freelance deadlines, rainy commutes, and quiet evenings sketching by the window. Elena had nearly forgotten about the locket, now tucked into a ceramic dish on her nightstand, until Tuesday evening. She'd just returned from a yoga class at a studio near the river, her muscles pleasantly sore, her mind calm despite the drizzle soaking her sneakers. As she unlocked her apartment door, she noticed a folded piece of white paper slipped beneath it, stark against the dark wood floor. She picked it up, expecting a neighbor's note about a lost package or a maintenance request. Instead, the handwriting was neat but hurried, the ink slightly smudged. "That locket isn't yours. Return it before it's too late." No signature, no address. Elena's stomach tightened. She turned the paper over, but it was blank. A prank, she told herself, or maybe a mix-up. She crumpled it and tossed it into the kitchen trash, but the words lingered like an unwelcome guest. That night, sleep eluded her. The rain pattered against the bay windows, a soothing rhythm interrupted by a faint creak from the staircase outside her door. Elena froze, straining to listen. The sound came again. Slow, deliberate footsteps pausing just outside her apartment. She crept to the door, her heart hammering, and peered through the peephole. The hallway was empty, the dim light casting long shadows across the faded wallpaper. She checked the deadbolt and chain, both secure, but sleep didn't come until dawn. The next morning, determined to shake off her unease, Elena walked to a cafe called The Rusty Spoon, a cozy spot with exposed brick walls and mismatched furniture. She ordered her usual lavender latte and settled into a corner booth to sketch. Halfway through her coffee, she glanced up and saw Marcus, the man from the estate sale, sitting across the room. He was reading a newspaper, but his eyes flicked toward her every few seconds. When their gazes met, he quickly looked down, folding the paper with exaggerated care. Elena's pulse quickened. Portland was small, she reasoned. Running into someone wasn't unusual. But the coincidence gnawed at her. She paid her bill and left, her umbrella snapping open against a sudden downpour. That afternoon, while working on a logo design at her kitchen table, her laptop pinged with a new email. The sender was a string of random numbers, the subject line blank. The message was short. She wore that locket every day. Now she's gone, and you're next if you don't give it back. Attached was a grainy photo of the woman from the locket, standing in front of a Victorian house with a blue door eerily similar to Elena's building. Her breath caught. She forwarded the email to her friend Mia in LA, who texted back immediately. "That's creepy as hell. Call the cops." Elena hesitated. What could she say? She'd bought a locket at a sale, and now someone was sending vague threats. It felt flimsy, like something the police would dismiss. Instead, she decided to confront Marcus. She pulled on her raincoat and walked back to the bungalow, the mist now a steady rain that soaked through her jeans. The house was dark, the porch empty except for a single folding chair. She knocked, and the door creaked open an inch, unlatched. "Hello?" she called, her voice swallowed by the musty air inside. No response. Against her better judgment, she stepped inside. The living room was cluttered with boxes, remnants of the estate sale. A faint smell of mildew hung in the air, mixed with the scent of old paper. On the mantel, a framed photo caught her eye. The woman from the locket, arm in arm with Marcus, both smiling in what looked like a park. Siblings? Lovers? The uncertainty made Elena's skin prickle. She scribbled a note on a scrap of paper from her bag. "Why do you want the locket back? Explain, or I'm going to the authorities." She left it on the table and hurried out. The rain now a downpour that blurred the streetlights. The next few days were a tense waiting game. Elena varied her routes home, avoiding the rusty spoon, and taking Ubers instead of walking after dark. She researched the locket online, learning it was likely from the 1920s, crafted by a local jeweler known for custom pieces. Its value was modest but significant, perhaps a few $100s. But nothing explained the cryptic threats. She started wearing the locket again. Not out of defiance, but because it felt like a link to answers she didn't yet have. One evening, after a long day of revisions for a client, Elena returned home to find her apartment door slightly ajar. Her heart lurched. She pushed it open, phone in hand, ready to dial 911. The living room was untouched. Her sketchbook still stacked on the coffee table, her laptop closed on the desk. But in her bedroom, the locket, which she'd left in the ceramic dish, now hung from the ceiling fan, spinning slowly in the draft from an open window. She swore she'd locked that window before leaving. Her hands shook as she retrieved the locket and stuffed it into a drawer, slamming it shut. She called the police non-emergency line, reporting a possible break-in. An officer arrived within the hour, a young woman with a no-nonsense demeanor, who inspected the window and door. "No signs of forced entry," she said, jotting notes. "Could be a faulty latch. I'd get a security camera and new locks." Elena nodded, but the officer's casual tone did little to ease her fear. That night, she slept with a kitchen knife under her pillow, the locket locked in her desk drawer. The next morning, Elena visited the Multnomah County Library, hoping to distract herself with research for a new project. While browsing microfilm archives for inspiration on Portland's history, she stumbled across a 1987 article from the Oregonian. The headline read, "Local woman vanishes without a trace." Clara Voss, a 32-year-old librarian, had disappeared from her Hawthorne home, last seen wearing a silver locket with floral engravings. Her brother, Marcus Voss, had been questioned, but released due to lack of evidence. A grainy photo showed Clara, her dark eyes and sharp cheekbones unmistakable. The woman from the locket. Elena's hands trembled as she printed the article. Was Marcus's aunt actually his sister? And why was he so desperate to reclaim the locket? That evening, she returned to the bungalow, clutching the article like a shield. Marcus answered the door, his face haggard, dark circles under his eyes. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice low. Elena thrust the article at him. "Is this why you want the locket? Because it was Clara's?" Marcus sighed, stepping aside to let her in. The living room was dim, lit only by a single lamp. He sank into a worn armchair, gesturing for Elena to sit. "Clara was my sister," he said, his voice cracking. "She disappeared 30 years ago. That locket was her favorite. She never took it off. I found it in her things when I was cleaning out the house after our aunt died. I sold it by mistake, thinking it was just another trinket. When I saw you wearing it at the cafe, I panicked." "Why the threats?" Elena demanded. The notes, the email, what's going on? Marcus rubbed his temples. Before Clara vanished, she was being followed. A man, someone she worked with at the library. He was obsessed, thought the locket was a symbol of their connection. After she disappeared, I started getting notes, warning me to keep her things hidden. I thought if I got the locket back, it would stop him from coming after you. Who is he? Elena's voice trembled. I don't know his name, Marcus admitted. Clara never told me. She was scared, said he'd been watching her for months. When I saw you with the locket, I thought he'd see it and think you were her, or someone connected to her. Elena's mind raced. As she left, rain pelting her umbrella, she noticed a shadow move in the alley beside the house. A figure, tall and indistinct, slipped out of sight. Her heart pounded. Someone was watching. The revelation turned Elena's world upside down. She installed a doorbell camera, bought pepper spray, and started checking her windows obsessively. One foggy morning, as she left for a client meeting, she spotted a figure across the street. Tall, wearing a dark hoodie, hands in pockets. He was staring at her building, his face partially obscured. When she looked directly at him, he turned away, but not before she caught a glimpse of a jagged scar across his cheek. That afternoon, another note appeared in her mailbox, written in the same hurried script. The locket calls to me. Return it, or I'll come for what's mine. Elena's hands shook as she handed it to the police, who promised increased patrols, but warned that without a clear suspect, their options were limited. The incidents escalated. Her email was hacked, with messages sent to her contacts asking about the locket's whereabouts. At her co-working space, a package arrived containing a single red rose and a card. Like the one Clara loved. Desperate for answers, Elena confided in her neighbor, Mrs. Harlow, a retired florist with a penchant for local history. Over tea in Mrs. Harlow's cluttered living room, the older woman shared stories of Hawthorne's darker past, unsolved disappearances, obsessive lovers who haunted the streets decades ago. Some shadows never fade, she said, her eyes narrowing. Be careful with that locket, dear. Objects like that carry weight. Elena decided to destroy the locket, hoping to sever whatever connection it held. She took it to a jeweler in the Pearl District, a wiry man with thick glasses who examined it under a magnifying glass. Beautiful work, he said, but I can't melt it down without knowing its history. Feels like trouble. Reluctantly, Elena opted for a safe deposit box at her bank, locking the locket away. As she left, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You can't erase her, or me. The threats grew bolder. One stormy night, Elena's doorbell camera pinged at 2:17 a.m. The feed showed the scarred man at her door, fumbling with the lock, a small tool glinting in his hand. She called 911, barricading herself in her bedroom with a chair against the door. Police arrived within minutes, but the man was gone. They found scratches on the lock and footprints in the muddy side yard leading to the alley. Elena's fear became a constant companion. She stopped posting on social media, deleted photos of herself online, and started carrying a whistle alongside her pepper spray. At Mrs. Harlow's urging, she contacted a private investigator, a gruff woman named Carla, who specialized in stalking cases. Carla dug into Clara Voss's disappearance, uncovering a name, Victor Lang, a former library colleague who'd been questioned in 1987. He'd been obsessed with Clara, leaving her gifts and letters that escalated into threats. After her disappearance, he'd vanished, only to resurface in Portland years later, under an alias. Carla's research revealed a chilling detail. Victor had been spotted in Hawthorne recently, his scarred cheek noted in a police report about a loitering complaint. Elena realized her mistake. She'd posted a photo on Instagram weeks earlier, wearing the locket at a bookstore event. The caption mentioned her new neighborhood. Victor must have seen it. With Carla's help, Elena worked with the police to set a trap. They leaked information about the locket being stored at the bank, hoping to draw Victor out. One night, as Elena watched from a safe house across town, police arrested Victor attempting to break into the bank's vault. He ranted about Clara's betrayal, claiming the locket was his key to reclaiming her through Elena, whom he saw as a reincarnation due to their similar dark hair and petite frames. Victor's arrest brought relief, but not peace. Elena testified at his hearing, her voice steady as she recounted the terror of the past months. He was charged with stalking and attempted burglary, with Clara's case reopened based on new evidence. Marcus, racked with guilt, apologized profusely, explaining he'd only wanted to protect Elena from the fate his sister suffered. They formed an unlikely friendship, meeting occasionally for coffee to share stories of Clara and heal old wounds. Elena donated the locket to a local museum, where it became part of an exhibit on Portland's history, a symbol of resilience for stalking victims. She moved to a brighter apartment downtown, where the city lights drowned out the shadows of Hawthorne. The rain, once oppressive, became a gentle reminder that even in darkness, clarity could emerge. Yet on misty evenings, Elena sometimes felt a prickle on her neck, a fleeting sense of being watched. She no longer wore silver jewelry, and her new apartment had no bay windows, just modern blinds that sealed out the night. Safety, she learned, wasn't about locks or cameras, but about the vigilance to face the unknown and the courage to rewrite her own story.